Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I want to talk to you about the Baker Act and specifically, will it affect your future? So this was a call that came through just a couple of days ago. Parents had called me about their minor child who was Baker Acted after apparently telling somebody that he wanted to take his own life. And, I said to the parents, based on what you're telling me and the fact he has health insurance and the fact he's being detained at a facility that has already asked him to sign a voluntary admission agreement so they can keep him longer, I said, I think you're going to need to fight to get him out. Otherwise, he's going to get stuck there. And, the mum said to me, well, how will this affect his future? And I said, look, I do not have a crystal ball. I don't know if it will affect his future at all. But I do think there are differing degrees of Baker Act. For instance, let me share this with you. Obviously, and first of all, these are confidential proceedings, but they do and can get found in a background check. I've seen it happen. So while they're confidential, confidentiality is never absolute. And yeah, somebody could find it. Are they supposed to hold it against you? No. Could they? Yes. Right? And so in my mind, I think there's different degrees of Baker Act. So if someone's going to find it, this is what I would probably want it to say. So let's talk about those sort of differing degrees. The first type of Baker Act is where you got taken and you fought like hell to get out. In other words, you went and hired a lawyer, or your family went and hired a lawyer for you, and you fought like hell to get out. And that way, if somebody looks, does a background check, they're going to say, wow, sounds like this was, not a legal Baker Act, and he fought to get out, and he got out. And it might be the judge ordered you released. It might be the hospital just capitulated. But whatever the scenario is, you fought like hell to get out, right? I would want that if someone's going to find it. The other option is, number two, you just sat there and waited and waited and waited. And eventually you got let out. Maybe it was 72 hours. Maybe it was a week. Maybe it was 2 weeks, right? But either way, you just sat there and you waited to get released. And so somebody does a background check and they're like, well, if there was nothing wrong with him, why did he just sit there? Why didn't he fight to get out? He just sat there and they held him for a couple of weeks. Okay, that's the second type. The third one is where the person didn't fight to get out. There was a hearing and the court ordered them to stay. So now there's an actual finding by a judge that says, you meet Baker Act criteria, and not only do you meet Baker Act criteria, you meet Baker Act criteria for extended detention. The 72 hours was not long enough. We need to keep you longer. And it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks. I've seen a month. I've had calls from people that were sent to a state hospital for 3 months and 6 months. And if you think it can't happen, I'm telling you it can. And so those are the different degrees of Baker Act based on, the thousands of calls that we've taken. And, can it affect your future? Yeah, it just might. I hope that it doesn't. But if it's going to be found, then in all likelihood in a background check, it's going to be. And if you're applying to go to med school or grad school or law school, you know what? They're going to ask you about it. Have you ever been involuntarily committed? And I'd want to be in a situation where I can say, yeah, I was. It was illegal. And I fought like hell to get out. And the judge ordered me released. Or the facility capitulated because they knew what they did was wrong. That's what I would want. But that's just me. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that provides some insight as to what we're seeing. If you have any comments or questions, please post. I'd be interested to hear what your experience is with the Baker Act and whether you think it has or has not affected your future. If you're seeing an issue in your family that I haven't talked about in a video, let me know. I'll make a video for you, because if it's affecting your family, it's probably affecting somebody else's. If you want to find out what resources we have, not just to help somebody who's been detained, under the Baker Act, but if there's somebody in the family who's dealing with a behavioral health issue, substance use, mental illness, what can we do to help you so that you don't end up getting Baker Acted? And if you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want more of this content that I put out for you every day, please subscribe to the channel. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.